Hello! Today what I'm going to be doing to change things up is we're going to be working with epoxy resin. And I have the Let's Resin epoxy, and it has the measurements. I'm going to mix 4 ounces of resin. The epoxy that I'm using from Let's Resin is a 1-to-1 ratio, so I need 2 ounces of part A and 2 ounces of part B. So I'm going to do that, and I will be right back. So I've measured out my resin, and I'm mixing it, and you can see how it has the streaks. You want to mix slowly, you want to make sure you scrape the sides and the bottom. And you want to keep mixing until you have no more streaks in the resin. It should take about 3 to 5 minutes. So I'm going to keep mixing, and I'll be back when my resin is crystal clear. Okay, my resin is all stirred. There's minimal bubbles, but there's a cat hair that I'm going to remove. I love my cats. I do, but their fur gets everywhere even when I clean. Okay, so here's my resin. Here's my mold. My mold has a lot of little crevices. You can see in the head here. And they're prone to getting bubbles. So when I pour the resin in the head, like so, I like to give it a second before I add too much resin. Now I'm not adding any colorant or anything to this because we're going to be doing something else. When I do molds like this, I like to do inclusions. Now I'm just squeezing the dragon's head a little bit to get resin down into the horns. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with my heat gun. Just to warm up the resin to make sure there aren't any bubbles. There are still a few. So I'm going to go in with this little micro brush and just... Otherwise, what I do is after I unmold is I'll go with UV resin and I will fix them. But I'm hoping to avoid having to do that because I have an expo coming up at the end of August that I'm preparing for. So if I can skip having to fix bubble holes. That would save me time if I just take that little bit of extra time right now. Okay, so now I just do a little bit of resin along the back spines because bubbles also collect in there. So we just want to make sure that we get all the places that bubbles like to hide. Here's another cat hair. And I cleaned this mold beforehand. It's just been a while since I've used it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this about halfway. Maybe a little bit more than half. Because I want it to go up the tail a little bit. And I want it to fill most of the mold. Because now what we're going to do is I have dried flowers that I dried myself. You can use any flowers. I just opened this and it smells so good. You can use any dried flowers. You can use flowers that you get off of Amazon. You can use flowers that are sentimental. A lot of these flowers I got from outside my house. There are some from the case that my husband got me. I'm just looking for scissors and I'm not finding any. So I'm going to use my X-Acto knife because I want to use some of these orange ones. Those popped out to me right away. That's a little big yet. Now for the colors, I just use what calls to me, what looks good for that day. My expo is in August. So I usually try to do colors for that season because I figure people are going to want things that go with that season. So for the August ones, I try not to go with super bright colors. I try to go with things that are more muted. So I'm just going to push these down because this is a really deep mold. So I can put a lot of flowers in here. So let's push those down. And I will have to clean these tweezers off after. So we have orange. This is really pretty. It's like a green clover. So we'll put that in. That'll look really pretty with the orange. I have some yellow flower buds here that I'm just going to separate. And then after this sets for a while, what I'm going to do is I will pick probably a white mica powder. Since I'm working with epoxy, I can use a really bold opaque color to back this with. This is pretty. We can use this because I'm going to want to use something. Oh, that won't work there. I'm going to want to use something that will work with the flowers that I'm putting in here, but not hide them. Something that'll accent them. I'll either use a white or a black. The black would probably be better with this mix. It would give Halloween vibes then. And I love me some Halloween. I have some dried dandelion heads that are really neat. I think I'm going to use some of that. Now with dried flowers in deeper molds, dried flowers like to rise to the surface. So you kind of have to keep pushing them down for a bit. Excuse me. I have a tickle. Little tickle in my throat. Let's do some leaves. Little green. And if we're gonna do some black, I have some peony petals that I think would look really good here. And all you do is you just keep going until you think it's enough. I usually put a lot in this mold. But I like flowers. I like shiny things. I like to add things to my resin. It's part of who I am as an artist. I'm not a plain minimalist artist. I just added a little bit of extra yellow flowers in the head there. You need something more for the tail. How this? Let's put this in here. Yeah. There we go. I just gotta make sure that it's covered in resin. I'll stop poking it with the X-Acto and use my tweezers instead. I am not a trained artist, I'm self-taught. So a lot of my techniques I learned myself. I watched other YouTubers, I read books. So I may not do things exactly how they're supposed to be done, but they work for me. So watch me for your enjoyment. If you learn something, I'm glad. I'm just using a little bit of this. So fun. We have little purple bell flowers blooming in our yard right now that I'm gonna go pick some and dry. I do have a video on my channel, it's just a short, on how I put flowers in silica to dry them. Okay, I think this is enough. So I'm gonna put the lid on my flowers again because I don't want to get any moisture in them. And put those off to the side. I'm gonna poke these down, and you can see that I'm getting bubbles on the top because of the flowers. That's because of all the petals. So I'm gonna poke the flowers down, and then I'm gonna take my heat gun and I'm gonna pop the bubbles. Just like so. I'm gonna be doing this like 3 or 4 times in the next 20-25 minutes. I'm not gonna have you sit through that, but I will come back when it's ready for the next layer. So thank you for watching, and I will see you again in a couple hours. Okay, so here's my dragon. He's all cured now. I'm mixing the base color. I used Let's Resin white mica powder. I will link that in the description box below. I'm just mixing my resin, mixing the mica powder until it's fully incorporated. And when I'm done doing that, I'll be right back. Okay, so this is fully mixed now. Beautiful white color. And I'm just going to pour it on the dragon, build the mold. And this should really bring out all the colors of the flowers. And then what I'll do is I will let it set. I will pop any bubbles with my long neck lighter. And then I will move it to where I let all my epoxy resin cure, and I'll cover it until tomorrow. When it's fully cured, I will come back and we will unmold it together. In the meantime, I do have an example of what a piece with this method would look like. It's a little frog, and I did him with this method. So the frogs are a little difficult to unmold. And I just did my nails yesterday, so let me take the gloves off. It's easier. If you want to know what nail products I use, just ask in the comments and I will let you know. Because I don't pay anybody to do my nails, I do them myself. I just need to get under this mold. There's always the legs there. The other side. There we go. And then the head likes to give problems. This is a great mold though if you like frogs. So here's the bottom. I used the Let's Resin Black. I had a little overspill that I'll clean up. And then here's what the top looks like. I did some dried flowers, a little bit of glitter. Isn't he beautiful? So we will see what our dragon looks like tomorrow. I hope he's as gorgeous as this frog is. So I'll see you then. Okay, so it's been overnight. This is fully cured now. Let's unmold it and see what we've got. There will be a little bit of cleanup. I tend to overpour a little bit. I'll just use an X-Acto and a file. Sometimes they break off like that. Because we took that time at the beginning, there's minimal bubbles. And you can see the flowers. The white really makes everything pop. I'm really happy with this. There's just a little bit of cleanup on the tail, but I can take care of that later. So that is our dragon. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. I have many more that I plan on making. And I hope you have a good week.